So, do we think the Blue Jackets' goal scoring has returned, or let's talk about that on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. Let's get right into it, because lots happened last night. That sure was a lot of goals. The Blue Jackets win 8-4, which was not what I was expecting. I don't think anyone expected that kind of offensive outpouring. But I will say something that was good is, and we'll talk about we'll talk about the good things first, because there was a fair amount of them. Then we'll talk about the bad and whatnot, and then we'll talk about the frustrating, which is the Florida Panthers can't seem to win a game against the Canadiens, and that's screwing up the standings. Anyway, good thing. There was a moment in the second period where the Blue Jackets allowed two quick goals. It was 4-1. And then very quickly it was 4-3. And there's a world in which the Blue Jackets of this season let that turn into a 4-4 game, and then it turns into, a track meet, or not even a track meet, just like whatever the heck that game was against the Canucks, right? Where it was 3-0, and then it was 3-3, and then it was 5-3, and then it was 5-5, and then it was 6-5, and blah, 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 blah. That didn't happen this time, mostly because I think Adam Fantilli decided, no, actually, we are going to win this game, which was fun. I enjoyed that. Goals for everyone with an M name last night, which was also fun. Marchenko got 3, Monahan got 2, Adam Fantilli, or Mo, as they call him, got 2 as well. Matejchuk tragically did not get in on the action, and neither did Mathieu Olivier. But a revenge goal for Dante Fabbro, and 3-point nights for Boone Jenner, I believe, who was, I thought, again, has really been reaping the results of being on that line with Fantilli and Johnson. Okay, no, excuse me. Adam Fantilli had 2 goals and an assist. Sean Monahan had 2 goals, 2 assists. Boone Jenner, 2 assists. Kirill Marchenko, 3 goals and an assist. Kent Johnson, 3 assists. Werenski, 2 assists. Fabbro, a goal and an assist. That's your multi-point games for the Blue Jackets. It was a real top-heavy one in this game, which is not surprising. It's the top 6 is doing stuff. The bottom 6 is just kind of there, honestly. Cole Sullinger seems to be in the doghouse a little bit, which is surprising to me. Something else surprising to me is I'm looking at the ice time here just to kind of see what's going on there. The defensive ice time is really nicely balanced. Like Zach Werenski actually played fewer minutes than Provorov, Fabbro, and Gabranson. Which we'll talk about Gabranson in a minute here. The forward that led the Blue Jackets in ice time, Sean Crawley, played 17:41, which is not something I was expecting, because, again, the fourth line was just kind of there. I know that they got more and more ice time kind of as the game got out of hand for the Preds. Like, I know that Sean Crawley got some power play time, and Luke Cunning got some power play time, and that was kind of fun near the end of the game. Almost had the funniest power play goal of all time happen, but I'm really just kind of like nitpicking here at the offense, because they scored 8 goals in a game. You can't You can't complain about that, right? You can complain about allowing 4 goals, which again we'll talk about in a minute here, but like 8 goals on 37 shots. They chased UC Saros. After 40 minutes, he allowed 7 goals on 26 shots. Eustace Anunen came in and actually played pretty well in that third period. Only 1 goal allowed on 11 shots. But like the Blue Jackets had better goaltending in this game than the other team, which is not been the case for a little while now. I think Elvis has been up and down. I don't think he was great in this game, which again we'll talk about in a minute here. But like he was better than Saros, which is important because Saros is a very good goalie. So like, and that's been the thing with the Predators has been like, right, okay, well, UC Saros has kind of looked human this year, but he's still an extremely good goalie. So like, if you go into that, you need to be better than Saros. And though Elvis was not great, he was still better than Saros. So I'm calling it a win. I'm not calling it a good Elvis game. He still had like an 850 save percentage because 4 goals on 28 shots is again not good. But as we'll talk about when we talk about the defense in a minute here, like not entirely his fault. Something else I want to talk about is special teams, which were excellent last night, which is not necessarily something that I am super used to from the Blue Jackets. The power play went 2 for 5, but I will say at least one of those power plays was what's the word? Shortened. It was like a 45-second power play or something because it came at the end of 4-on-4. The Predators took a penalty during their own power play and it truncated it. So the Blue Jackets got like a short power play when whoever it was came out of the box. Provorov, I think. Severson, not Provorov. But my point still stands. Like it was 4.5 power plays, let's say. And I believe the second 2 were the second one I believe was also the last 2. The second to last one I believe was also shortened. Because that was when the Provorov O'Reilly thing happened, which was okay. In fairness, Provorov definitely did commit a crime against Philip Forsberg. Ryan O'Reilly did lose his mind a little bit about that, which I understand the frustration, but does seem a little counterproductive to like finishing the game strong, right? So like one of them was shortened, and then again, like I feel like all of the third period power plays, they just kind of threw the bottom 6 out there and told them to have fun, and to not allow a shorthanded goal, and you know it worked out. But the Blue Jackets, I believe they went 2 for 2 on their first 2, so they scored on their first power play of the game, which would have been in the first period. And then I believe they scored on the second one as well. They had a power play goal in the first period and a power play goal in the second period, both of which that was the only 2 power plays that they had in those periods. And then again, the third period just kind of went. There was a lot happening in the third period, but 2 power play goals in a game. I didn't think that was allowed. And again, it really does feel like, oh, Sean Monahan is back. Boone Jenner is back. The power play could exist again. I think probably more Monahan than Jenner, but like one of the things that Boone Jenner has been really good at for a long time is that James Van Riemsdyk position on the power play, right? That net front presence of he's just kind of big and annoying there. And he took a bunch of like specifically, I feel like Patrick Laine's goals just kind of bounced off Boone Jenner and into the net. And so Jenner got the credit for those goals. And that hasn't happened as much since he's come back this season. But I don't think it's coincidence that having both Boone Jenner and Monahan on the top power play unit means that suddenly the power play is doing things again. Obviously, Monahan, both of his goals on the power play tonight. That second goal of his, the 6-3 one, was just mean. Like, just kind of takes it around the back of the net, waits out the goalie, and then just like does a little nifty little move, and it's not even like a shot really. It's just kind of like, I guess the net is open. I'll just push the puck into it. Like, it was so mean. I loved it. Again, the power play. When was the last time they scored 2 power play goals in a game? Genuinely don't remember. Like, I looked it up briefly and couldn't find an example. And that doesn't mean that it's not there, but like, trying to think back, I'm like, man, even when the power play was clicking at the beginning of the season, like, it was 10th in the league for a minute there. I still feel like the power play was like, okay, you score one a game and then you're good. And also the penalty kill, which has been just as bad, if not worse, than the power play. Went 100%. The Predators went 0 for 4 on the power play. Now, I don't think they have a particularly robust power play as it is, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, yes, excellent kill against, the Nashville Predators, but they are currently sitting at 18th in the league. So, like, middle of the pack, better than the Blue Jackets for sure. Their power play and their penalty killers both ahead of the Blue Jackets. So again, that was a real victory for this team. Was, obviously we know this team can score at 5-on-5. Can they keep the puck out of the net? Can they score in special teams? And last night they did both, which is great. A+. You love to see it. Unfortunately, we have to talk about some things that I didn't like so much about this game. So we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I've got to tell you about wonderful pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. The pistachios are one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they are packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller for longer. I love that they sell a no shells variety. That's my go-to. I am a gremlin. I like to eat them 14 at a time, and so that's the perfect quick protein hit for me. But if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a great choice too. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. We've talked about the good of the game, which was like most of the game, honestly. Face-offs, they were great at as well. Blue Jackets won almost 60% of the face-offs, which again is nothing for this team. Cole Sillinger, great. Sean Crowley, great. Adam Fantilli, great. Sean Monahan, ironically, only 40% at face-offs, which he's coming off of wrist surgery. I'm not surprised by that, but Fantilli won 62.5% of his. Sean Crowley won 77% of his. Sillinger won 2/3 of his. Like, a good night in the face-off dot. And that's what they need, is when Monahan has an off night on the face-off dot, the other centers need to step up, and they did. Again, you love to see it, right? Let's talk about the not so good from this game. And we're going to start off with, I understand why you put Gabranson and Severson on the same pairing, because you have to have Werenski and Fabbro together. Matejchuk and Provorov should be this. If anyone has to be the second pairing, it should be Matejchuk and Provorov, right? Unfortunately, that means that you've got to have Severson and Gabranson together if you want both of them in the lineup. And for some reason, they want both of them in the lineup, despite the fact that they kind of occupy the same space right now, which is mediocre third pairing defenseman that is slow and bad at defense. They were unplayably bad last night, and somehow still got plenty of ice time, which that was frustrating. Again, Gabranson played more than Matejchuk and Werenski, which I think they're limiting Werenski's minutes at the minute because he's probably starting to show a little bit of wear and tear. He's been taking a lot of maintenance days recently. Like, Gabranson and Severson were atrocious together. You can't, but the problem is, okay, so you can't play those two guys together. That means you've got to split Provorov and Matejchuk up, which is not the move because Provorov and Severson is bad. Provorov and Gabranson seems like a disaster. Matejchuk Severson might be fine, but I don't love it. Like Provorov is the best defensive partner for Matejchuk right now. Of the guys that they have, right? And so it gets to a point of like, okay, do they sit Gabranson for someone else, for Jake Christensen, for example, when he's, it sounds like he's back, he's healthy. What do what do you do with this? Because you can't keep going as is. I suspect they probably will, because again, like, you don't change a winning lineup, but they were terrible last night, I thought. Eric Branson finished the night -2. Damon Severson finished the night -1. I don't have in front of me the number of goals that they were actually on the ice for and against, but the Blue Jackets scored 6 even strength goals, and you're still somehow a -2. Like, wild. I don't understand it. And again, like what was it? The third goal, I think, the 4-3 goal. Just abysmal defending from both of them. Like, sure, Elvis wants that goal back, but like, you have to be like, there's no way that puck should never have been even anywhere close to Elvis. But Severson forgot what he was doing. Gabranson was just kind of spinning in the middle of the ice, lost. Just an extremely, extremely frustrating game. Eric Branson was on the ice for 1 goal for and 3 goals against. Severson 2 goals for, 3 against. That's all at 5-on-5. So, if you change that to all situations, it stays the same. Neither of them played power play time. Oh no, that's a lie. Eric Branson had 119 of power play time. Damon Severson had 43 seconds of power play time. That'll have been in the third period when they were like, yeah, sure, why not? Wildly, Adam Fantilli only played 6 seconds of power play time, according to this, which seems wild to me, honestly. Like, what's going on there? Again, Adam Fantilli didn't get any. He got 6 seconds of special teams time total. Damon Severson didn't kill any penalties. Eric Branson led the team in penalty kill time, which again, why? But they're not good together. If you have, like, I understand you want to have, like, they both bring something to the lineup ostensibly. Like, Severson is a very good offensive defenseman when he's having a good game. Gabranson is good for morale, right? Neither of them are really doing what they're supposed to at the minute. Like, I think Gabranson is taking a minute to get back from his injury, right? Like, he's missed most of the season so far. He's on the older side of things for a hockey player. He's 32, coming up on 33, so like not ancient, but definitely, in the twilight of his career, let's say. It takes longer to recover from things like that when you get older. You're not 21. You can't bounce back from surgery like it's nothing. So I think it's just that he is taking time to like get his legs back, find the speed of the game again. Like, he was never the fastest guy. He was never the best guy. And I think it's really kind of that missing season has kind of taken a toll on a lot of things about his game. So like, I'm willing to extend a little bit of grace to Gabranson. Severson, I have very little time for these days. I understand why you want him in the lineup, but you can't. Like, if you want Gabranson in the lineup, Severson has to go. If you want Severson in the lineup, Gabranson has to go. Like, you can't have both of those guys in the lineup. Not when you've got guys like Jake Christensen, who's been very good for a lot of the season, sitting in the wings, right? Jordan Harris, for whatever reason, hasn't worked out in Columbus. He's sitting in the wings. Jack Johnson is not a better option than those guys, but at this point, like, he can't be worse, right? Like I said, of the 4 goals that the Predators scored last night, the Gabranson-Severson pairing was on the ice for 3 of them. Like, that tells you something. And I don't think Elvis was excellent last night either. I think he was better than the numbers, like the straight up stats show. So he had 4 goals on 28 shots, I believe it was. I don't have the numbers directly in front of me. 4 goals on 28 shots. But the Predators actually, I believe, based on what I saw on Blue Sky this morning, the Predators had about 4 goals worth of expected goals in their offense. So, like, he allowed 4 goals on 4 expected goals. That's a net. Like, that's a wash, right? He was not as good as they needed him to be, but I don't think he was as bad as, like, the straight up and down save percentage, goals against average numbers show. Unfortunately, this doesn't bring any of his averages up. But again, the first goal was, I believe, a deflection. No, the first goal was that ridiculous Philip Forsberg goal. No issues with that goal. Second goal, he didn't see it because I believe Zach Werenski was standing directly in front of him. Third goal, Gabranson and Severson were just awful in both of them. And I don't remember the fourth goal because at that point, the Blue Jackets had scored a billion of them, and I was more excited about that. The fourth goal, it was the Jordan Oesterle goal from, like, a distance. So, like, 2 of those goals I might want back, but that Forsberg goal was a great goal. The Bunting goal, he didn't see it. The Justin Barron goal was... How are you going to let Justin Barron score a goal on you? Like, again, Elvis should have had that one, but he didn't get any help from his defense. So I'm willing to, again, extend a little bit of grace there. The good news is the Blue Jackets outscored all of their defensive and goaltending woes, which they were doing at the beginning of the season, right? Like, this felt like an early October game from this team. The problem is going to become, can they keep it up? Because they have to keep pace in the Eastern Conference. So we'll check in with that Eastern Conference wildcard race in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I want to tell you about Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's super easy to lose track. I do it all the time. That's where Monarch Money comes in. They are your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on DoorDash. Now I budget smarter and I save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. You don't have to go to your banking app, to a finance app, to a budget app, to a spreadsheet, back to your banking app. You can do it all on Monarch. And managing your money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without any of the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL, 50% off your first year. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's wrap up the episode by just checking in with out-of-town scoreboards, things like that, because the Blue Jackets have, again, continued to get a lot of help from every other team that doesn't seem to want to win. But the Canadiens are being annoying. So the picture at the minute, the Senators are still in that first wildcard spot. They are at 84 points. That second wildcard spot is held by the Montreal Canadiens at 79 points. And then right behind them, the Columbus Blue Jackets at 77 points. Along with the New York Rangers, also at 77 points. Now, the Blue Jackets have a game in hand on all 3 of those teams. They also have a game in hand over the Red Wings, who are sitting at 75 points, and the Islanders, who are sitting at 74 points. 2 games in hand over the Penguins, who are sitting at 71, and 3 games in hand over the Flyers that are sitting at 71 also. The Boston Bruins have torpedoed their way out of the playoff consideration. They've lost 6 games in a row, and they are currently sitting below the Buffalo Sabres, which is shocking and upsetting for them, I'm sure. But if we, again, the metric that I've been using for the last little while is 6 points or fewer out of a playoff spot. So at this point, that's just the Jackets, the Rangers, the Red Wings, and the Islanders. And again, the Blue Jackets have a game in hand over everyone else in this race. All they got to do is win, right? The problem is strength of schedule. Now, the Blue Jackets have an extremely tough schedule for the rest of the way. I believe that the last easy game of the season was last night against the Predators. I believe almost every other game, they have a game against Buffalo, I believe, but I think of the other eight games that are left in the season, so 8 plus 1, Buffalo game is 9. That's how many games they have left in the season. All 8 of those games come against teams that are in playoff position or teams that are fighting to be in the playoffs. So they've got a game against the Islanders still to play. I think they actually might have a game against the Flyers still to play as well. But like, they've got two games against the Senators, who are ahead of them in the standings. They've got a game against the Leafs. They've got 2 games against the Capitals. They've got a game against the Avalanche. Like, it's tough. It's going to be a tough end to the season. Like, I think they have like the 7th hardest schedule in the NHL left, which would be fine because, again, everyone else seems to be losing as well. But then you flip over and you look at the schedule that the Canadiens have, and that's your biggest competition right now is the Canadiens. They are dead even with you in terms of points, essentially. They have 2 more points, but they also have 1 more game played. So all the Blue Jackets have to do is win 1 more game, and they will be tied with the Canadiens. Canadiens will, I believe, have the tiebreaker because they will have more regulation or overtime wins. The Blue Jackets have won a lot of shootout games, so they have to win 1 more game than the Canadiens. So all they have to do is win. They just have to win 1 more game than the Canadiens, right? So can they do that? Well, here's the remaining schedule for the Canadiens is they play the Bruins, bottom of the East. Philadelphia Flyers, out. Predators, out. Red Wings, fading, but hopefully sticking in there enough to make it difficult for the Canadiens. They've got a game against the Senators, game against the Leafs, and then a game against the Blackhawks, out. And then a game against the Hurricanes. Like, that's their remaining schedule. They have a much easier schedule than the Blue Jackets, which is a problem because the Blue Jackets need to, ideally, like I said, they need to win 1 more game than the Canadiens. So if you look at the fact that the Canadiens should probably win 5 of those 8 games remaining, 4 or 5 of those 8 games remaining, which means the Blue Jackets have to win 5 or 6 of their remaining 9 games. Now, the Canadiens might fall off a cliff. They just lost 6 in a row, but so did the Blue Jackets. Again, that's why they're in this situation. If the Blue Jackets had won literally 2 out of those 6 games that they lost at the beginning of the month, they'd be ahead of the Canadiens and we'd be laughing, right? But they aren't. They're right here. So it's going to come down to, again, it might genuinely come down to that final game of the season. The Canadiens play the Hurricanes for their last game of the season. The Blue Jackets play the Islanders. So if it's a case of whoever gets the more points out of those 2 matchups wins, then you've got to think that the Blue Jackets are in better shape than that, or in better shape for that, because the Islanders are, knock on wood, an easier opponent than the Carolina Hurricanes, who are 8-2 in their last 10 games. Like, they stumbled a little bit coming out of the trade deadline, but have really picked themselves up. It's going to come right down to the wire. The Blue Jackets are a better team than the Canadiens. The Canadiens have just been lucky. They've had some bad luck as well. The Blue Jackets have had some bad luck. They've also had some good luck. They just have to keep pace. Just keep pace and win 1 more game than the Canadiens do. That's all you got to do, which is difficult, but not impossible, right? Unfortunately, big test coming into town tomorrow. Colorado Avalanche will be in town, and they are a very different Colorado team than the one the Blue Jackets beat in like game 2 of the of the regular season. So we'll talk about that in tomorrow's episode. Thank you for listening to this episode, for making it your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you once again for listening. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.